So I go to a lot of conferences, mostly in Europe, but also in the States, because Wired is about tapping into the future, the people who are the influencers who are going to make the difference, the new businesses that are going to affect our lives. And often a well-curated conference is the way you find these people. I was at an event in Dublin this weekend called Founders. I was interviewing Jack Dorsey on stage, Chad Hurley was there, Nick Zenstrom. I go to events in Holland, there's Picnic, which is excellent, there's Pink. You never know what you're going to expect, and the key, I think, to a well-organised conference is curation both on stage and off stage. So at DLD, for instance, in Munich, it's the crowd you meet as much as what is happening on stage that gives you those memories, that gives you those connections. And a bit like Wired, I don't see us as a magazine so much as a community. And it makes complete sense that we find ways to bring our community together, and we probably will organise our own conferences. But it has to reflect the strong editorial values of the magazine, just like the best conferences reflect the very strong vision of the programmers and founders. And I think we're in a world where people's time is precious. There's an awful lot of clutter, and they don't want mediocrity. You really have to put in the effort. And if you do, people will value that, and they'll pay for it, and the sponsors will come. So, I am as egotistical as any editor, and I like talking to a room, and the room is listening. I also like preparing, so I feel I know what I've got to say. And it's a special experience when you are at a conference and you're also participating. But I've noticed that what works better is either you and your 20 minutes where you've really got to focus on what you're saying, or an interview where you can go in depth with somebody. So on Saturday, I interviewed Jack Dorsey on stage at the Founders Conference in Ireland. We had half an hour, me and the guy who founded Twitter and who's now taking on the credit card industry with Square. And you can get an intimate conversation going, and you can reveal new things, and I think the audience learns something. I also chaired 2 panels which had, on average, I think 4 people on the panel plus me. And it's fun, but often you don't have very much time, and once people have introduced themselves, there isn't much room to go very deep. So it changes the dynamics of the event. So I would say the most effective events I go to tend not to rely very heavily on the big panel discussions on stage, because you want to test people so they say something they really care about, and it's a bit too comfortable being one person of 4 or 5 or 6 on a panel. So when I go to an event, I really invest. I get very little sleep, I try and meet as many people as I can, and I try and listen and learn. And the best events have prepared me in advance by putting a detailed program online or giving me a detailed brochure, booklet, iPad app, whatever, that tells me where I should be, who the people are. Because I think if you have a bit of due diligence beforehand, if you know that this person is coming and this is why they're interesting, then it saves time. I think a couple of the events I've been to have given me very, very thin agendas, and you don't know what to expect. So I think it's about the delegates preparing themselves, doing their homework, and the organisers making it easy, giving them that data in advance. The other thing is, not all events for a high-tech crowd have very good Wi-Fi, and it's a short-term economy, because you want people there to be on the social networks, spreading the love, telling people what is happening in that room. And I think it's a no-brainer to make sure it's easy for them to connect. Cool. There's something really exciting happening now, and that is globally people are putting on very high-quality events. I could spend every day of the year at a conference. Sometimes there are 2 on one day that I want to go to. I think that's fantastic as a way of reaching a large number of people, innovative people in business, in culture, spreading ideas. And so here at Wired we're thinking, wow, how can we help people? How can we connect them? So we're thinking we should create an area of our website where people can fill in details of their own event, and we can promote as many of them as we can. And we're going to be doing this in the next couple of months because, you know, it's like open source education. A lot of them put videos online. You can follow through Twitter what people are saying, and it's a way to discover what's really happening.